Good day, everybody, and welcome to this Engaged Customer webinar together with our partners at Inisoft, looking at how reducing customer effort leads to improved business outcomes. Now, my name is Steve Hurst. I'm the editorial director at Engaged Customer, and I'm joined by three lovely people today. I'm joined by Oonagh McBride from Inisoft. How are you? How are you today, Oonagh?
I'm great, thank you.
And I believe you're up in Glasgow with our second guest, Arkib Mughal. How are you, Arkib, today?
I'm fine, thank you, Steve. How are you?
You're both at your offices, aren't you, up in Glasgow? Yeah, great to talk to you both. I'm joined by Oonagh from Inisoft and Arkib from Kura. And last but by no means least, I'm joined by Adam Lake, who's Head of Communications at national charity Turn to Us. How are you today, Adam? I think you're actually down in London where I am today.
I am. I'm in London, and we've got absolutely splendid weather down here today, so very happy.
I was reticent to ask about the weather in Glasgow, but I'm sure it's lovely in Glasgow too. But,
yeah,
really good sunshine in Glasgow too.
We're nice and grey. Nice and grey.
So welcome to the three of you, and really looking forward to the presentations today. I'm not going to say too much more because we've got lots to get through today. But what I do want to say is that both Oonagh and Arkib were star presenters at an event we had in February. I don't know if you guys remember our Future of the Contact Centre conference in February.
Yes, absolutely, Steve.
Yeah.
Yes, we were at the February event down in London. It was a great event, and both Oonagh and I spoke at it. It was a really good, a lot of good speakers.
And yours was rated one of the highest, one of the best presentations at the event. So no pressure on what you're going to be saying today.
You've set us up well there, Steve.
Yeah. And obviously you talked a lot about customer effort there, and obviously customer effort is a key theme around today. And and from my point of view as the editorial director at Engaged Customer, it's really important to make it easy for our customers to do business with us. And I think it's becoming more and more important because customers have so many choices these days that if you're not easy to do business with, they're just going to take their business elsewhere. So welcome to you all. Welcome to the delegates today as well. And just to remind you, or to ask you to ask questions whenever you want to ask questions. There's a green panel towards the bottom of your screen. Please keep those questions coming in. Any questions that aren't answered during this 45-minute webinar will be answered afterwards. So your questions won't be wasted, so please do keep them coming. And also we have a poll during today's presentations, and so get ready to be polled today as well. So without further ado now, I'm going to hand over to Oonagh. Take it away, Oonagh.
Thanks very much, Steve. I'm going to start off today by just introducing you guys to Inisoft and their product Scintillate. So first of all, we're a UK-based software company and we're part of the Kura group. We have a global reach and we have 15,000 desktops live all over the world. We're a Vias agent desktop and global scripting partner. Now, their business partners sell our product all over the world into many different business sectors. We find that the advantages from the Unified Agent Desktop, that they can be realised in any sector and in any size of contact centre. Now, we see ourselves at Inisoft as the agent desktop experts. So what we do is we focus on providing solutions that work well for the agents. So what we believe is if the systems work well for the agents, this will empower them to provide a great customer service. We're also very lucky at Inisoft because our parent company, Kura, are an outsourced contact centre. And it's an outsourced contact centre with quite a different way of viewing the world. And they develop very heavily in their advisors, so they focus very much on their advisors. What does that mean for Inisoft? It means that we have got direct access to 1,300 people who absolutely know firsthand what works for them and what doesn't work for them on the agent desktop. And we use this population as our inspiration for improving and moving on our product. Once we've done this, we can also use this as a test bed, so we use our own agents to test and trial our new ideas. Arkib, do you want to introduce Kura?
Yeah, no, thanks, Oonagh there. I think, like Oonagh says, I think we are uniquely placed at Kura by having Inisoft as part of us, working alongside us in the contact centre. The software team at Inisoft get first-hand knowledge and feedback from advisors on things like design, functionality and layout of the applications. This gives our advisors the edge on delivering great customer experience for our clients, rather than having to focus on navigating through clunky systems, which I'm sure all of you have had personal or seen it in terms of experience when you don't design systems with the person who's going to use them in mind. And really that's what we're all about at Kura. We're in business because we want to help people to develop and reach their full potential. We're building a culture that shifts the mindset from focusing on things and stuff to people and behaviour. We call this process crossing the bridge, and you'll see the little picture there on the slide there denoting that. Our vision one day is to be recognised as unrivaled in developing people. Now, if we are to be unrivaled and be the best when it comes to developing people, it's absolutely critical for us to understand how best to service customers today and how best to service them in the future. We know in today's world it's ever more connected than ever has been before. Contact Babel did a report last year citing in the last 10 years alone we've had 5 new contact channels for customers to use. We know the theory has been blown out by giving more choice to people doesn't result in less contact, it results in more contact. Voice hasn't reduced as a lot of people have suggested that it would have done. So by giving people more choice, they're using more channels. And what that has meant for the customer is what we've seen in the last few years, the last 5 years, that the behaviours and expectations of customers have changed. We now know customers can choose almost any channel they want to use. They can choose it typically when they want to do it, so it's a time when it's convenient to them, and they expect their issues to be dealt with quickly, efficiently, and hassle-free. So if that is the customer's bar of expectation going forward, I suppose there's a question out for all of our organisations in terms of how are we responding to meeting that bar. How easy are we making it for customers to contact us to get their issue resolved? And I've got a little bit of an anecdote. You know, I'm the type of person that would use self-serve applications, web chat. If I could avoid a contact centre to call them, I would. But last week I had a particular need to call the contact centre because I just felt as if I couldn't convey my message via any of the automated channels. And I went through this website, I won't name the company, to the contact us page, and could I find the telephone number? It absolutely frustrated me. So we absolutely need to make sure we're being ourselves available for our customers.
That's absolutely true, Akib. We did some research ourselves last year, and that was one of the main bugbears of the customers, of the consumer panel that we went through. Not being able to find a telephone number on the website. Yep.
And the final question that we have to ask also is the understanding of the correlation between customer effort and customer experience. They're interrelated and interdependent. So we need to make sure that we understand what drives which one. Now, the Aberdeen Group, which is an analyst firm, did a report last year and focusing on what is on the agenda for the contact centre executives. So at the boardrooms, what are the boardrooms talking about? And you can see from some of those statistics there, customer experience is pretty high on the agenda. I would say reading that report, it does clearly say that. I would also say I was at an event yesterday, a customer experience event, and it's clearly there's a storytelling job to be still done to boardrooms for them to totally, I would say, get it from looking at customer experience rather being a cost to an investment. So there's still more work to do. But coming back to the stats here, the one in particular I want to pull on is the 77% of executives understanding that they need to reduce customer effort to issue resolutions, which will improve customer satisfaction. And I think that highlights it is a very important measure going forward, and it's something that should be given high priority. Just on that particular point, late last year at Kura we commissioned a piece of original research with the CCA in establishing the strategies for servicing the contact centre customer of the future. Now that's a mouthful, but and it's a great read. I would recommend all of you to download the report. We asked a whole raft of questions of their entire membership, and one of the key things that we concluded from that was, although we're understanding that there's a dynamic shift coming around robotics and AI, there's a real need to change the skill of the advisor in the future, how they will deal with things. The challenges that people will face, the contact centres will face, will be around things like measuring customer effort was one of the things that came out. Interestingly, in the same survey, we asked people if they were actively measuring it, and only 8% of organisations are currently measuring, according to the survey we had, on measuring customer effort. So, what I would ask is, looking back now to say, we know it's an important measure, we know it's interrelated and connected to customer experience, we know boardrooms are looking at it, but why are so few organisations actually measuring that? So, with that, I've got a quick poll for everybody, as Steve said earlier. Just would like to get some of your, this a bit more interactive. Are you currently measuring customer effort? So you should see that pop up any second now. And if you could just press the one that's relevant to you, if you're measuring customer effort today, and click OK. And we should get the results published in a minute or so. And while you go to mull over that, I'll just give you a little bit on the event I was at yesterday. It's very interesting. One of the key themes were, obviously, it was customer experience, but one of the key speakers, two of the key speakers, were very clear to articulate that you will never achieve great customer experience if you haven't got great employee experience, and I think that is so absolutely vital, and at times it's so overlooked. That we don't operate bums on seats. We don't have an advisor, just doing a job. They are a critical component to deliver great customer experience. And just how much investment do we really put in to our people? When we think of investment, we think of technology, whereas it should be the other way around. At times, it should be about people. So hopefully, the results should be coming through. If you've got that coming in. And I'm just waiting for that to pop through now. At the event yesterday was a great. We had the speakers from all over the world, but a lot of organisations come from all over the world, and you can tell the AI, robotics, RPA are really the next evolution in our industry. But people are also thinking, what does that mean for people who are going to be in the contact centre?
Yeah, they're very hot topics, aren't they? Obviously, I go to lots of events myself as the editorial director at Engage Customer, and certainly AI and robotics are very, very hot topics at the Gartner event a few weeks ago as well. So I'm hoping these results are going to come through fairly soon.
Yes, I was hoping to get the similar results as CCA, but they will hopefully come through. Interestingly, obviously, Steve, at the event that we did with yourself in February, once again, although that everybody understands the AI and the robotics, people are still questioning what the skills of the advisor will be needed, because if you're going to automate and chatbots are going to take over all the simple transactions, all we're going to leave is complexity for humans to deal with. And have we got the right people, the right skills? Are we training them? Have we got the right...
Absolutely. Okay, yes, yeah.
We need to build them through. So these results will come through any minute.
Well, yes, I think we've got poll. I think we do have poll results through. Not sure they've come onto the screen though. I can actually read out the poll results, and hopefully they'll come on the screen very soon. 20% said yes, which is obviously higher than the 8% that is double, actually more than double the percentage that came from that survey. 20% have said yes, 20% no, 40% partly, and 20% don't know. So 60% sort of a yes or partly. So anyway, they're the results that have come through, and not sure why that haven't come to the screen, but they're the results that have come through. Hopefully the audience can see those results as well.
I think that's encouraging in terms of the results. I mean, 60% of people are either measuring it or working towards measuring it, which is different from what we had seen previously.
Yeah, and that 40% that say they're partly measuring it is interesting, because to get a full measurement of customer effort can be quite difficult if you are using different systems and different silos to transact to different channels. So I can see why, you know, a lot of people might aspire to fully measure it, but they can only succeed in getting a partial measure for that.
I think hopefully if just to let everybody know there, if the poll has come up and if it's been published, if you could just click the cancel button, so you go back to the screen, and we'll go back onto the slides. But sorry, and I jumped in there. On you go.
Okay, so in a recent
quite encouraging, really. Yeah, quite encouraging.
So in a recent Aberdeen Group report, it was stated that on average, agents spent 15% of their time looking for data across the different enterprise systems like CRMs, business systems, etc. And this actually costs an average 300-seat contact centre $1.57 million a year. Now that's a big cost, and I think that what we're doing here is we're only looking at the average handling time. So obviously, if the agent's having to go into different systems and search, etc., the call's taking longer. So it's obvious here that if you streamline this and bring everything into a single interface for the agents, you're going to get great efficiencies and save time in the call. Now, as well as saving money, I think that by saving time on the call, that's a key component of customer effort. And it's a key component that's sometimes missed. The length of the call, if the call's too long, the customer is not happy because they feel they've spent too much effort by being on the phone longer than necessary. But I think there's another hidden cost here, and that's just a negative effect to both the agent and the customer experience. Now, I think we all agree that the agents in general, they're more fulfilled when they can engage with the customer and they want to provide a good service. So an agent that is distracted by navigating all the different systems, struggling to find information, they just can't concentrate in the conversation. Now, I think we've all been there at times where you've been on a conference call and you've been checking your emails and you suddenly get caught out because everybody on the call knows you're not paying attention. So I feel like the agents must feel like that most of the time. You know, if they're having to go and alt-tab into different systems, they're not giving the customer the full attention that the customer deserves. So give the agents the information at the fingertips and allow them to actually engage with your customers. Okay, so the same study, some other information from the same study showed that companies that implement a successful omni-channel system achieve on average a 77% customer retention rate. So to achieve that kind of retention, you really need to put the customer at the centre of your strategy as you start to implement the new channels. So make sure the client has a completely consistent experience and that they can swap out the channels to suit them. For example, I might want to phone rather than web chat when I'm out and about. So don't use omni-channel as a way of call deflection. That's not putting the customer at the centre of your strategy. Sometimes a customer is going to need to talk. So if you force that customer to use web chat first as a barrier, you're just causing frustration to the customer. In terms of channel choice, though, sometimes as a contact centre you have to orchestrate. So you have to decide what the suitable channel is. So it might be that your agent or your systems have to be empowered in order to break out the current channel. So, for example, a long round of email tag, sometimes that can be solved in a single phone call, and you need to empower your agents to recognise when that's the case. Now, I'm going to go on and talk a bit about our product, Scintillate Connect. So our product, Scintillate Connect, this will unite your business application data with your contact centre channels. So what is key here is that all your different channels are feeding into one single Scintillate worklist. And this includes all your emails, SMS, web chat, social media, outbound calls. Now this single queue is the key to a successful omni-channel solution, because what this allows us to do is provide the customer with a continuity within their customer journey, and also allows you to blend agents in order to achieve full efficiency. Using Scintillate, the agent can answer each interaction on its incoming channel, but they also have the capability to orchestrate an escalation into another channel where appropriate. Okay, so I'm going on to the next slide, which is going to show you an example Scintillate desktop. Now, I say an example Scintillate desktop because each Scintillate desktop is uniquely tailored to the requirements of the individual organisation. However, what is common to all desktops is that we will bring all the disparate systems that an agent will require into a single interface. The information is laid out in a way that's easy for the agent to navigate and protects them from the complex processes that are often found in business and CRM systems, and these business and CRM systems are often just not optimised for agent use. Now, as mentioned previously, optimised desktops that flow well for the agent and follow the pattern of the call, they allow the agent to focus on the customer rather than the process. Now, another thing we do is we always ensure that the agent is presented immediately with all the client information they need and a snapshot of the transaction history. For example, if you're on a web chat with a Scintillate system and you suddenly have to escalate into voice, you can be sure that the agent that you're escalated to has that full transcript of your web chat. So this solves one of the most common customer frustrations, in that the customer doesn't have to repeat the whole story again, and the agent is fully equipped to deal with that transaction immediately. We have scripting, and there's a script on the left-hand side of this screen, but it's important to note that scripting need not be prescriptive. It can be used to simply help guide the agent through the transaction, and this can reduce training times and reduce speed to competency. Another important point is that if you have to change your processes, you can incorporate these processes quickly using our rapid scripting tool. And this can reduce the requirement for briefing out changes to the agents and retraining agents, so it allows you to be very reactive to your customers. Another good thing about the scripting is it allows you to push the relevant information to the agent at the correct part of the call. So, for example, if at a certain point in the script the agent needs to go on to a CRM system or a sales order system, we can bring that system to the fore and ensure that the agent is at the correct point with the correct data to fulfill the transaction. Now, each channel is serviced in this single user interface, and that consistency allows you to benefit from the efficiencies that you can get from blending your agents. So the agents are comfortable because they've got the same interface irrespective of the channel they're using. And this is important when it comes to introducing new channels, because you're not training the agents on a brand new tool. And that means that you can focus all your training on the soft skills that are required in order to make your new channel a success. Now, I'm now going to pass over to Adam from Turn to Us, and he's going to talk a bit about the Scintillate solution at Turn to Us.
Thanks, Oonagh. So let me just, hi, I'm Adam Lake, and I'm from the national poverty charity Turn to Us. So just first of all, to give you a little bit of background about what we do. So we were founded as a charity in 1897, so it's our 120th year this year. And I think multi-channel for us, when we were founded, was a question of you use a telegram, a letter, or knock on the door. So we've really come quite a long way till where we get to at this point. We help people in a number of different ways who are struggling financially. One of the ways is that we give direct grants to people who are struggling. They can come and apply for support. The average grant is about £1,000, and we awarded about £3 million in grants last year. But a really big additional part of our service, which we started in 2007, is that we help people gain access to financial information, to income from other sources. So there's about £16.6 billion of welfare benefits and tax credits that go unclaimed. About a quarter of that is from over 65s. And we realised that people who were just missing out on support that they were entitled to, and we thought that as a poverty charity.
I wasn't aware of that at all.
It's a huge amount of money. I'd say about a quarter of that is over 65s missing out on pension credit. Yeah. So it's something that's quite astonishing, and we were finding that people coming to us, often people who perhaps they've worked their entire lives, they've been made redundant, they've suffered a bereavement, and they're saying, look, can I have £500 just to fix my broken cooker? And then we were realising that they might have been entitled to pension credit, housing benefit, carer's allowance, or something like that. So what we are doing essentially is letting people know what help is out there. Now, primarily, we do that through the website. But a lot of people, as you can imagine, we get people from all sorts of different circumstances where that might not be the right approach. So what we really try to do, as we've got a lot larger and a lot bigger, we had about 5 million people visit our website last year, is look at what how we can use different channels to make sure that people that come to us as a charity feel comfortable, because not everyone is brave enough to call someone on the phone, not everyone is capable to use web chat, not everybody wants to go and visit one of our partners. And the helpline, which is provided by Kura, really is completely front and centre of that approach. I think the charity sector is one of those sectors where you're never going to be able to lose the helpline, because at the end of the day, if someone has been through a terrible personal circumstance, the helpline is the best way of them getting to that personal approach from somebody. So that's really, really important. Once we launched the helpline, though, it became very, very successful, as these things often do. But we were finding that a number of people who were calling us, they were doing it because it was the easiest approach, but it might not necessarily have been the right approach for them. So we decided to make a series of objectives to see how we could maybe serve these people better and provide more support. So just briefly to go through some of those objectives. The first one is to provide a comprehensive set of channels to get access to this support. Website being one, helpline being another one there. We wanted to use a digital-first strategy, primarily because it is to do with cost, and that's something I'm not afraid to say, because as a charity, we need to use as much of the money that people are giving us to support people directly. So if we can get those costs down, then we can help even more people. As part of that, we really wanted to reduce the number of calls we get through to the helpline, but importantly, we wanted to reduce calls to the helpline from people who actually would prefer to use different routes. Those who need to use the helpline, perhaps if someone is living with a certain disability that doesn't allow them to have online access, or perhaps they're older and would just prefer to have a phone call. We wanted to make sure that we could keep that in place. We wanted to provide a clear view of customer history, because people would come to different parts of the organisation, and as you said already before, Oonagh, you want to make sure that you have that consistency when you're dealing with different people, to make sure that they're not having to retell the same story twice, and especially when you're dealing with vulnerable people, that's a really important thing, that you can make it as easy and you take that burden, you take that stress out of the situation. And finally, we wanted to provide one tool and one customer journey, because especially when you're dealing with sensitive information, when people might be giving that over to you, or you're trying to signpost someone, it's just really important that you've got everything in the right place, because that's the best way that you can help the people that are coming to us. So that's something that we've implemented, and I think we're about to go on to the next slide. So what has come out of that, basically? So by introducing this multi-channel approach, what we've been able to do is to improve the level of service that we provide in all sorts of different areas. And we've actually introduced some new services as well. So I've already mentioned the helpline is a core service there, and by reducing the amount of calls, which are unnecessary, it means that the quality of the calls that we do take are much better. So we're providing a higher level of support there. By using the agent desktop, it means that you've got some real integration between our call centre, which is up in Glasgow, and our head office, which is in London. So I can tell you, as a customer testimonial, I head up the comms team. If someone calls the helpline and they originally thought that they were looking for some support, but actually they want to get hold of a press story we wrote the other week, or they want to speak to us about an interview, they will use the system, and that will come through to our inbox, and then we can perhaps share that with another team if there's another layer on top of that. So that's really, really helpful. We use email so that you get lots of people who aren't really sure what their problem is or who they need to speak to, but they know they've got a problem and they know that they need to speak to somebody. So we found that using email as part of this is a great way of sort of triaging those people that come to us. Web chat is a new thing that we're doing, and I think this is a really big significant one here, because we have a benefit calculator tool that people can use, so you can input your information. It will tell you what you're entitled to and how you can apply for it. But often we were finding that some people found that quite difficult. Perhaps there was a question and they didn't quite understand the lingo, and then so they'd call up the helpline and they'd say, I'm stuck on this question. It's probably not the best use of their time, and it's probably not the best use of our resource either. So what we're doing at the moment is we're introducing web chat on those specific parts of the site and on the benefit calculator where those problems are arising, so that if they're using the benefit calculator online, they're already happy to be using online. So the web chat is a great way, is a great way of allowing them to get those questions answered without having to use another channel.
Channel to use, because they're already they're already on a kind of a digital channel. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, how is that going? Is that taking off?
Well, it's been really interesting. So just going on to the next slide here, we've seen 1,000 chat handles per month through that web chat thing specifically, which has been absolutely fantastic. Crucially, and this is the really big one for us, we've seen a 17% reduction in calls year on year. Now that's something that we thought was going to be harder to achieve, so we're really, really proud about that. And that is real significant money that we can invest in supporting more people, so we're really grateful that things have worked out. We've managed to reduce the average call handling time by 30%. Again, that's something that's it means that people are finding the solutions faster, and it means that we're helping people in a much more effective way as possible. So that's a fantastic thing as well. And we've seen a 400% improvement in our online form. So again, it's part of that broader story of making sure that we're providing a really consistent, slick service to the people that we're helping. And very quickly, I just want to jump into a couple of outcomes from that, because it really has been quite significant. So as I say, we're 120 years old this year, so we're always looking to improve, but we weren't imagining we'd see some improvements like this. So we've got a 94% satisfaction rate. You've got to remember that these are people who are calling up because they might have found out they've had a benefit sanction, they've lost their job. These people are not in a great place. So to be achieving these percentages in terms of things like satisfaction rate, recommendation rate, being dealt with in a sensitive and supportive way, I think it's very, very significant. And I think that's the main thing to get from this, is that when we're dealing with people, we're dealing with vulnerable people. The people who work in the helpline, they're absolutely amazing. They're sensitive. They know how to speak to people. So we've managed to implement this, but at the same time, we've not lost anything in terms of call quality. And if anything, I think we've actually improved it. So that's a bit of a summary of the experience that we've been through. But I'm not afraid to say it's been an incredibly positive one.
Well, there are some fantastic results there, I must say, Adam. Yeah, you must be very proud of the achievements you're making.
I mean, I think it's just fantastic when you listen to the calls of the people coming through and you realise that you're making a difference. So, the people who come to us, they never see the process; they just see the outcomes. So,
yes.
It's nice to delve into the process sometimes too to make sure it's all working fine.
Yeah, we've got some really interesting questions coming in now, and please do keep those questions coming as well. But no, that's really interesting, Adam, and on your 120th birthday, it must be great to have some of these outcomes from what you're doing with Kura and Inisoft.
Absolutely, I think that what we're doing with Kura, the helpline, really is jewel in the crown of what we're doing, and I think it just allows us to. It would be very easy. It's very easy for charities sometimes to just lose that personality. But the fact that we can provide such a personal approach to people that are coming to us, it's a really big deal for us, and that's a fantastic thing that we're really happy about.
Absolutely, yeah, fantastic stuff.
Okay, thanks very much, Adam. So I'm just going to summarise on some key points there. The first one is make it easy for your agents to help your customers. Now I get that seems like a really obvious statement, but I don't know how often I've observed agents working around bad systems and processes as they try to do their job. And I think in contact centres, sometimes we're too willing to accept the workarounds, and the poor agents are the ones that suffer as they jump through hoops to help the customer. So from the example we talked about there at Turn to Us, what we did is we gave the agents all the tools in a single interface, and we made the call flow very easily and naturally for the agents. And I think that's why we're getting results like 96% of people feel that the agents are dealing with them sensitively, because we're making it easy for the agents to use a system which allows them to focus on the customer and actually focus on doing their real job.
Yeah, it's that link between the colleague and the customer, isn't it, really, which is very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oonagh, yeah.
Okay, so unify customer data to reduce and measure effort. So obviously measurement of effort becomes much easier when all your channels and customer data are unified into a single system. And I think that's why so many people find it hard to measure customer effort, because those are not unified. The great news is when you've unified them to allow you to measure the effort, you actually automatically reduce that effort if you display that to the agent at the desktop, because they start to see the full journey over all the channels. single view of the customer will improve outcomes. Again, it's another obvious one. But if the agent has access to all the information they need, then they're more likely to be able to resolve your customer's issue. And then the last one, which we've talked about quite a lot, is don't deflect, but do orchestrate. So when we talk about omni-channel, allowing the customer to use their channel of choice, but then a lot of contact centres in the same breath use the terminology called deflection when they're going to implement their strategy. Now, as somebody who runs a software business, this seems alien to me, because there's no way I want to deflect my customers. I want my customers to be able to contact me in any way that they can. So when you implement new channels like web chat, you will automatically experience a call reduction, and there's no need to ramp that up by actually deflecting the callers that do want to talk. And then orchestrate, by contrast, sometimes you need to take the initiative, and you need to choose the channel, and you need to choose the channel that's going to get the customer to resolution as quickly as possible. Archie, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, and I think the final piece I would just add there is this is not like a one-stop solution and then you're done. I think you need to keep on evolving the strategies that you build for what we think what we need to do as organisations from a people, process and a technology perspective to improve outcomes and reduce customer effort. What we learn and do today will naturally change because the behaviours of our customers are going to continue to change. We're at the next wave of evolution when it comes to the contact centre in terms of the robotics and AI and all the artificial intelligence and chatbots coming in. That, once again, is going to dynamically shift the behaviours and expectations of customers in the future. There will be a fallout of that in the future in terms of how to deal with that from a contact centre perspective. So if you're establishing your strategies today, you're planning, make them nimble, make them agile, and make sure that you're planning ahead. I said earlier, the key thing for our boardrooms is to make it to be the chief storyteller, and let's make sure that we're telling them the story will continue to evolve, and rather than having an end straight away. So that's what I would say. The strategy we build has to be flexible and agile.
Agreed, Archie. Agreed. Yeah. Okay. Well. Three fantastic presentations. Adam, it's really good for me to hear more about Turn to Us as well and the work you're doing there, and how successful you are successfully working with your partners, Kura and Inisoft. We've got some questions coming in, and so I want to crack on with the Q&A session now. We've got 7 minutes for the webinar to run. Got a question here from Jenny King, who's HR Director at CIPFA. Thanks for the question, Jenny. Jenny asks, are there any standard criteria to measure customer effort? It's a big question. Who wants to fill that one?
Are there any standard
criteria to measure customer effort?
Yeah, I'll take this.
I guess with NPS you've got I guess that's what Jenny is asking. What the criteria?
Yeah, so I think there's lots to be measured today. We have the NPS measures, we have CSAT measures. So I think they are the NPS is evolving at the moment, and the same methodology at times is being used. I've seen customer satisfaction measures, the 1 to 5 ratios being used for customer effort. And some people are using resolution, customer resolution or first-time resolution as a measure to measure effort. So is there any standard? I've not seen anything jump out at me yet, I would say, but I think there's some indicators around first-time resolution and using NPS as indicators. What I would also say is you need to measure end-to-end from a customer perspective rather than just the initial. An example I would give you is if you're onboarding a customer, you might measure them at that point, but you need to measure them through the life of their journey as well with the organisation, and understand where your touch points are and what the effort levels are through that process.
Do you want to make any additional comments to that, Oonagh, at all?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that in terms of customer effort, there does have to be a bespoke element to it, because you have to look at what your organisation provides in order to see the effort that makes up every resolution. And it may be that there is some complicated resolutions that do demand more customer effort, where you should be targeting straightforward ones and making sure that they are very low effort. So I think it needs to be slightly bespoke, in that you need to look at your organisation, your customers, and know what suits your organisation.
Okay, thanks for that. And a question here, I think this would be actually very much for you, Adam, on the how do you see the web chat function at Turn to Us evolving? What are your future plans for that? It's obviously an exciting development for you. How do you see that panning out?
Well, I think it's something that's going to grow. It's quite interesting at Facebook. People sending us direct messages, private messages on Facebook are on the increase as well. And I think with social media, when people want to talk about something that's perhaps a bit more sensitive, they're much more used to using web chat or social media to do so because they're a lot more comfortable or just more used to using those sorts of forums for sharing that sort of information. I was talking to the chief executive of, I think it was Relate, or former chief executive of Relate, who do marriage guidance. And it was quite interesting hearing how web chat is an interesting way of getting of doing therapy, and that's something that we're seeing across the board, where this is becoming a much bigger forum for people to get support because they're much more comfortable using these forums and actually speaking over the phone, which is something they're more likely to do perhaps in work as opposed to when dealing with a personal issue. So it's something that we're really interested to look into greater detail on, and it's definitely an area that's going to grow for us.
So it feels like a more private, almost more not anonymous, more private in terms of the way.
It is. I think it's a bit like if you're writing a diary, you tend to sort of open up a bit more, and it's a bit of sort of self-therapy as well. You know, when you've got a problem, if you're perhaps in a customer services situation and you're really angry with the bank or what have you, you can call up and you can be very grumpy and huffy and all the rest of it. But sometimes if you're writing down what the problem is, it makes it a lot clearer and easier, and sometimes you can actually get through to the solutions a lot quicker. And I think in terms of what we do, we find sometimes it actually really helps for people just to put it down in black and white. Here's a situation, what are the options? So it is a helpful thing to do.
I totally agree with you, Adam. We all know in organisations the difference between a customer complaining and receiving a written complaint. So they're two distinct things. So the ability for people to articulate themselves on web chat and, like you say, have that maybe private moment with somebody on the other end, with it's not a voice but a bit faceless, they can open up themselves a little bit more, and that they can share more than they may have not done on the phone.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Another question. Got a couple of minutes left. Maybe ask all three of you this question, because I think it's one that you could answer, Adam, and then one the other guys could have a look at too. How would you build a case to your board for implementing an omni-channel strategy? How have you, Adam, worked in building your case?
I mean, I think that the R word, risk, is very important when dealing with the board and trustees. Yeah. And as we all know, when you're dealing with different channels, especially if you're dealing with sensitive information, where there's lots of data, if it's not going through a proper process, there lies danger. And I think for us to ensure that we have a channel in place where all this different activity can come together, and if mistakes do happen, especially with something like a data breach or something like that, sometimes these things will occur in any organisation. The fact that you've got a process in place, so it's very, very easy to look at what happened, look at if you made a mistake or if you didn't make a mistake, who was spoken to and when. It's really, really useful. And I think whether you're a small organisation or a large organisation, you're going to have some sort of process in place, and you might as well have a process in place that actually supports the customer journey as opposed to something that sits alongside it. Okay,
thanks for that. Arkeeb, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think to build a case, I think the two things, a couple of things I would say here is in organisations and the customer experience end, we need to become the chief storytellers of telling the board exactly how this will improve. So have a start, middle, and end to the story. We need to change the narrative around customer service, customer experience, customer effort as being cost but investments into the business. But there are some tangible things that we can do, because boards like to have tangible numbers. having an Omni-Channel will enable you to have consistency of information of the customer. It will reduce your contact rate. It will eliminate all that time that Oonagh talked about from the Aberdeen report, which is shown 15% time lost just toggling through the system. So there's some direct benefits of savings that you can extrapolate. What we have found with the Inisoft team is we would never advocate big bang implementations of an Omni-Channel solution. We would do iterative solutions or implementations because that helps to prove the business case as it goes along. Interestingly, turn to us as a case and example. We introduced the web chat a year or 18 months down the line after launching the initial service. So it's not about, jump 2 feet in and then hopefully we'll swim and not sink. You need to find a balance. We prove the business case around reducing calls, reducing handling time through having Inisoft in doing the Scintillate Connect solution first, which then gave us the platform to talk about reducing calls and introducing web chat. So iterative implementations as you go along will become a self-fulfilling prophecy of your investment case.
Okay, thanks. And just the last word from you, please, Oonagh, before we close.
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate what Arkib said there, you should probably go for an iterative process that's going to give you gradual benefit as you move along your omni-channel journey, but just make sure that the technology that you use and invest in has the capability to provide that true omni-channel journey. So just because you're doing it bit by bit, don't end up with different silos for different channels. Make sure the whole thing is brought together in a unified system. Okay,
thanks for that. And thanks to Oonagh, Arkib and Adam for 3 great presentations. The screen you see, the slide you see on the screen now is some of our upcoming events, and one event, next event actually, is around customer engagement transformation. And there will be plenty of conversations around customer effort at that event as well. And we've got brands like O2, Apple, Direct Line, IKEA, RAC, and Sky presenting at that event. So lots of really good brands presenting there. And I think also you guys, Arkib and Oonagh, may be involved in that event as well. But that's our next event on the 6th of July. For the webinar point of view, this webinar is going to be available on demand for 6 months from now. So if there's anything you feel you missed or want to go over some of the slides again or just want to listen to it again and look at the polling and any other activities around the webinar, then you're free to do so. So it just reminds me to thank you all again for attending today and to our presenters. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.